Let's look at the last piece of right-wing infighting. Let's look at something funny. Alex Jones is taking the gloves off.
I remember saying to them, like I said, I got to investigate her now. I got a bad feeling. I didn't have a bad feeling. God gave me a good brain. I already knew. I dropped the ball. I apologize. She's a globalist agent. I dropped.
Oh, shit. Clandis is a globalist agent? Oh, hell yeah.
The ball, and I failed you, and I'm sorry. I got to follow my gut every time. It's never wrong. And I saw so much more she did. And I love her people threatening me and all their doxing of people and all of it. You think that's going to make me go away? All you did was wake me up like a nuclear test site waking up Godzilla. So just get your asses ready because you want a war.
That's right. Strap me to a Tomahawk missile and direct me in Clandis' direction. I'm over it. I'll do it.
I want your war. I want it all. I want the doxing. I want the lies. I want the attacks. I'm going to take you.
That's a dog whistle for working for the Jews, right? Brother, I don't know how to report this to you, but Alex Jones is not the bigger anti-Semite in this conversation. It brings me no pleasure to report this, but actually Alex Jones is the one who is saying Clandis is working for the globalists, but is actually attacking Clandis partially because Clandis is doing anti-Semitism the wrong way, okay? You're the only person in the world that smiles when listening to Alex Jones. Why? He's my goat.
You are, because you work for the deep state and the Democratic Party and the CIA and MI6, and I see your ass. So you just get ready. This ain't my first rodeo.
That's why Alex Jones is coming after her. That's legit cope. One day. You sure she ain't botting? No, I checked. I don't think Candace is botting. Okay. Everything that Alex Jones used to say about a global cabal existing was correct, but he's stuck doing shit like this. I know.
I don't know.
Such a sad state of affairs for the GOAT, dude. Look how far the mighty have fallen. Literally, he said there was a deep state elite cabal. That's number one. He said Democrats would start rounding up people, kidnapping them, and throwing them in concentration camps. That's also happening. It's just not the Democrats doing it, right? And in this beautiful moment where Alex Jones could just straight up say, look, I was right about everything. He can't say it no more because he's compromised. He's up the asshole of this administration that's doing all that shit. So he has to sit there and defend it.
Always hang out on Christmas Eve or New Year's with my labubu. But when I do, I hang out with this little particular guy right here. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He's a populist. He's a freedom fighter. He's libertarian.
People got real mad at him too. I have the same labubu as Alex Jones, by the way, which is crazy. Yes, I do have the same exact one. Did you listen to Coast AM when you were younger? I could totally see you having that on in the background doing homework in college. No, but I've been an Alex Jones fan for many, many years from afar. The concept of Alex Jones having a normal family home and Christmas tree, yep, that's real.
Believes in team humanity.
You know what's really funny about this, by the way? His fans literally were like, "Oh, you're a part of the deep state satanic cabal because this is a Pazuzu. This is a satanic thing." He got hit with the cancel culture beam from his own fan base, so we had to go, for everyone flipping out, believing this is some type of secret satanic message. Let me clarify things for you. My 21-year-old daughter got one as a joke and asked me to make a joke meme. I don't get much of it, but she said it would be fun. We are going to blow up the Labubu soon at the shooting range with Tenorite, and that will make it all okay. Winky face. Yeah, he's audience captured. Okay, let's watch something that's like somewhat fun, I guess. Let's do a yearly dose of good news.
Renewable energy generated more electricity than coal for the first time in history. In medicine,
China. Okay, let's continue.
Doctors can now effectively treat newborn babies for malaria, something that was impossible until this year.
Okay, vaccine conspiracy, not good. No, I'm kidding. That's a good thing, but...
Dozens of endangered animal species are recovering around the world. And the Pacific just got a marine protected area half the size of China. I'm Freddy, this is good news, and this is our biggest episode of the year, as we are looking at the biggest wins of 2025. Our first story brings incredible news for the planet. For the first time ever, renewable energy generated more electricity than coal globally. Between January and June, renewables supplied over 5,000 terawatt-hours worldwide, surpassing coal for the first time. China and India drove most of this shift, despite rising energy demand from economic growth. China's solar grew by 43% and wind by 16%, compared to last year. Despite coal still being the largest energy source at 58%, renewables have expanded rapidly. And India saw even bigger renewable jumps. Wind and solar increased by 29 and 31%. This helped the country reduce coal and gas use by over 3%. All of this pushed the world past another big milestone. More than 40% of global electricity now comes from low-carbon sources. Europe played a major role in hitting that milestone. Data released this year shows the European Union already generated 71% of its electricity from clean sources in 2024, with solar accounting for 11%, surpassing coal for the first time as well. Just to put the scale of solar into perspective, global solar generation is now large enough to power.
This is making me realize that you only cover bad news on your broadcast, Lamau. Brother, an entire year passed by, and the only thing he's talking about is oh God, this is all financial relief in Australia, the world's largest marine, major wins for forest protections, real-time emission tracking, endangered species recovering, and well, I guess he already summarized it. But it's like, it's just, you know, it's 60 minutes long, and most of it is in the field of renewables and preservation, which is good. It's a good thing. Okay. Lion's share coming from China, and not even because like they have consistently increased their renewable grid, but also because they're literally facilitating the renewable energy initiatives with their productive output. Even this green energy push is happening predominantly outside of the West, despite the U.S. trying to undermine it. Yeah. Not to be that guy, but I am going to be that guy. We are literally actively looking at the situation, realizing that China owns a complete monopoly over rare earth minerals, and have decided that we are going to knock out the table in its entirety by doubling up our focus on oil and gas, because that's the one energy source that we have at least some control over. India completely relies on China for their solar cells. Everybody relies completely on China pretty much for their solar. China is responsible for almost all the batteries, the rare earth minerals that need to be processed and refined for the batteries. They're responsible for all of the output in general, pretty much all the output in general. This is part of the reason why America doesn't want to work with renewables. A big part of the whole... Okay, you guys want to hear something about renewable energy that is somewhat of a conspiracy? I think the reason why you don't really hear about climate change as much nowadays, under the Trump administration, of course, you're not going to hear about it, but even like liberals don't talk about it, is because the story about climate change from the American perspective is not about climate change. The story about climate change from the American perspective is about Chinese dominance, Chinese control over the energy, Chinese control over renewable energies in particular. China completely controls the processing of all of the materials you need for renewable energy. They also have overproduced. They've also overproduced the solar panels. Their productive output is far beyond what profit margins would normally dictate. And the reason why they're overproducing is because, and Xi Jinping has talked about it as well, the reason why they're overproducing is because they're making it as cost effective as possible to swap over, okay, to switch over to renewable energies for all these other countries. Many countries are actually recognizing that it is becoming cost effective to lean into renewable energies for the first time ever. And this is the reason why they're swapping over their grids. The problem from the American perspective is that this undermines oil and gas. This undermines the position or the reliance that people have on oil and gas, especially not in the short term, but certainly in the long term. Okay? And once the entire world moves away from the petrodollar and does a full-blown green transition, then all of a sudden, China will have a tremendous upper hand over the United States of America and all the oil and gas giants. Because all of a sudden, now they have complete monopoly over the refinement and the procurement of rare earth minerals. Okay? They already have it, but it will be far more consequential and offer them far more power in the global stage when they are the singular, the only party that controls the entirety of the output. Okay? It's like if America was single-handedly the only oil and gas country on the planet. No Saudi Arabia, no OPEC plus, just America. They already have a cartel. America has tremendous control over the cartel. But having said that, imagine if the United States of America was the only oil and gas provider around the entire planet. That's what it would look like. From the American perspective, that's what they're fearful of. And instead of investing, which at this point it might be far too late anyway, instead of investing in like procurement and refinement outside of China, which they are leaning in the direction of a little bit, going to Australia and other places, right? It might be far too late to do so at this stage because their productive capabilities are far, far more efficient. The Chinese productive capabilities are far more efficient in this regard. It's much easier to lean into the incredibly cost-effective grids that China is providing. That's the real reason why America is not talking about climate change, don't care about climate change, and are leaning into the oil and gas industry.
Oh, well, that disrupts the market. China has disrupted the market. China is not a free market economy. We tried. We let them into the World Trade Organization. We sent our businesses over.
By the way, the only reason why China has disrupted the market and they're not a free market economy, for the record, is because there is central control over every capitalist country as well. We have a process called subsidies in the United States of America and in many Western liberal democracies, right? We subsidize energy production in this country. Problem is, we don't actually, by design, control how those subsidies are utilized. Some of the subsidies are obviously utilized to make it as cost effective as possible, but it's virtually impossible to combat against China. Like in automation, we have subsidies for automation. It's virtually impossible to combat Chinese automation, though, because although they control flows of capital and have central planning in that regard, they're incredibly efficient and far more cost effective in their output. So these guys are mad that China is playing the same game that they're playing, but they're playing it better. The only way to beat China in this situation would be to become like China, but they won't do that. Obviously, that would mean scary socialism, scary communism, and that's not what these countries are designed to do. These countries are designed to continue capitalist hegemony around the globe at the behest of the profit motive for capital owners. So instead, they're just trying to blow the whistle on the referees. The elite are butthurt because they were rushing to control it and destabilize oil arbitration so they could control China the way we manipulate Europe, but we overplayed our hand in oil and underplayed the technology card, and now China eventually will have no American energy restraints. Well, that's far, far into the future. And even if they were to become like China overnight, let's say magically, I wave my magic wand and the United Socialist States of America is implemented, is initiated. We now have central planning, and we're working on creating a robust industrial base once again. The amount of time necessary for American productivity to catch up to China is at least a couple decades, with no guarantees that we'll ever catch up to China at all. Now, of course, there's an alternative vision out there, which is to stop fighting against China, stop presenting China as a foreign adversary, and instead cooperate with them, as we are currently cooperating with them under a capitalist organization of the economy. Okay, and no, we're not only 6 years behind. We are behind in terms of developing a manufacturing capability even close to what the Chinese have had like for 2 decades. We are far behind. We're we're 30 years behind. Not 6. I wish we were 6 years behind. That's manageable. That's salvageable. We are 30 years behind China. And that's that estimate is the nicest estimate that I can give to the United States of America, if we're being real.
We made trade deals. They are a controlled time.
Tucker Carlson is talking about curbing private equity, killing your pets. Hakeem Jeffries authorized a military package to send F-15s to Israel. Dems are cooked. Yeah. No, that's what because Israel is not about Israel. Israel's not even about the genocide. The genocide is secondary. The American government doesn't give a about brown people being slaughtered, okay? The American government is making a bet on Israel, dominating the region, and making a bet on the region in general in terms of its productive capabilities in the realm of energy, okay? So Israel is not about Israel at all. Israel is about China. Everything is about China. Every single thing that the American government does ultimately goes back to China. It's about establishing a better position against China. The problem is we're fighting a very different fight Israel is about oil. Of course, everything is about oil. If you really think about it, it's about continuing the petrodollar dominance. And the way to do so is by making sure that there is a powerful entity that is a vassal state in the region that is resource rich with this singular resource that we're talking about, that will completely keep all of the OPEC partners at bay and will destabilize if necessary and will attack whenever they see fit. Israel is not even about Israel. Israel has a Greater Israel project that happens to align with America's interests of making sure that Israel is the domineering force in the region. But it's the same with Venezuela. Venezuela is not about destroying Venezuela. Venezuela is not just about stealing Venezuelan natural resources, specifically oil. Venezuela is also about China. Venezuela is about Latin America, the dominoes that will fall in the rest of the Latin American countries that are now developing better relationships with China, all the way up to Mexico, as a matter of fact. Everything still goes back to China and combating the rise of China. I have some knowledge on this topic from a policy perspective. The U.S. is far behind on not just generation, but you need ultra-high voltage transmission lines, transformers, battery storage, and upstream feedstock. All the basic components, e.g. mining needed for electrical infra, is state-owned. The U.S., meanwhile, is facing a crisis in supplying transmission infrastructure. China is cooked demographically, though. By 2050, they're expected to lose 250 million people, and their median age is expected to be 54. Immigration, though being suppressed by the current regime, will allow America's economy to be productive for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I mean, China could also do that as well. I just don't think that they will. That's very not Chinese of them to do so. I don't call it Chinese dominance. I just call it dominance. That's just a peek at how Chinese my mind has become. I feel you. Not being combative, just curious, if Israel is so tied to America's wants and needs, why do countries like England and Germany fight so hard to defend Israel, for example, by arresting Palestinian protesters? Are they also a subset of America in this sense? Or think America being top dog is worth it? Yes, they are. They're vassal states. Yes. The answer to all of your questions is yes. Meanwhile, the other side of this is, maybe, something that I've been railing against for the past 2 days, but like, we do have a crisis in education in this country too. We have a crisis in basically every aspect. Okay. Shit's running on autopilot, leaning into the previous gains that we made from a modicum of socialization and all the government programs that we once had, the infrastructure that we once developed. Okay. But we're too busy. What is this tweet? Anyone who's been around illegal and low-income immigrants before knows Minnesota daycare scams are just the tip of the iceberg. This is all happening all over the country at a $1 trillion scale. Voters enable it because of white guilt, politicians because of votes. Yeah, this is kind of what I was saying. We're too busy doing this shit. So we're never going to actually solve any of these problems. I have no belief, no confidence in the American population in terms of just like getting our shit together. It is pretty funny that Asmongold, this is like whenever he talks about women or like hoes, it's funny. Anyone who's been around illegal and low-income immigrants, brother, you've been around no one. You've been around no humans, let alone illegal and low-income immigrants. Famous guy, famous for never leaving his home, being like, I'm always around low-income immigrants, guys. And trust me when I tell you, I'm speaking from a position of authority. It's like, bro, you don't leave your house. They invented a new Chinese political spectrum and you're in it? That's crazy low on the spectrum. Also, you put Michael from Pennsylvania higher than Eric, who literally has moved to China. Okay? Michael from Pennsylvania has never been to China. Eric literally has changed his entire life and now lives in China. That's crazy. Whoever wrote this is a major dick rider of Michael from Pennsylvania. Notice how his name is Michael from Pennsylvania and not Michael from Beijing or Michael from Shanghai. Both myself and Austin Show need to take higher priority on the highest of the Chinese spectrum, higher than Michael from Pennsylvania and not Michael from Chengdu, for example. Yeah. Person who's never stepped foot in China being placed at the top here is crazy. You don't do a daily China glaze? Yeah, because China daily glazes me. The Global Times did an interview with me that I didn't even read on the broadcast about how to make China cool. That's right. Also, I'm the only person who can sing Red Sun in the Sky.